Hi everyone.
Hello. Welcome
Welcome
back
back.
to the Consistency Code podcast,
Episode 2.
episode 2. I'm
Yeah.
excited for this one. We are going to dive deep into our own stories, where we were when we started our fitness journeys, what inspired us to start our fitness journeys, and all of the lessons that we've learned along the
Yeah.
way. And hopefully this can be inspiring for you if you're starting your fitness journey or if you're just curious about what we have gone through and the hurdles that we've overcome and what got us into bodybuilding. So let's get into it.
Everything. Yeah. So, with this being said, we're first going to get into the basics of what we were actually struggling with before bodybuilding. So, not just at the start, right? So, like, before you even explored what bikini bodybuilding is, or like wellness or whatever category that. And I also do want to know, did you pick bikini first when you first, like, heard about bodybuilding, or was it like something else?
I did choose bikini. It was
Yeah.
very obvious just based on my genetic structure that
Yeah.
I was suited for bikini because
Mm.
genetically I do have wide clavicle width up
Yeah.
top. I have wide shoulders. Both of my parents have wide shoulders. Genetically, I do have a smaller waist, so it made sense to go into bikini. Also, being like it was the most attainable division at the time
Yeah.
for entry level starting point. It's easiest to start in bikini because it requires the least amount of density. Now, of
Yeah.
course, we have fit model, which is a different story, but at the time it was bikini.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was pretty obvious I was bikini. I do remember asking my coach if we could try figure, and he was like, immediately no.
I love how you shut that down. Honestly, that's
Yeah.
funny. That's funny you say figure. Yeah, I always hear it's wellness first. I've never heard figure. Yes, that's cool because yeah, figure is a cool one, honestly. Looking into it like deeper after I chose bikini, but I swore up and down in the beginning I was wellness. I said I am wellness until my coach stripped me down to my fat and said you are bikini queen. And I said okay, you're right.
And I love that you mentioned that because
Mhm.
so many girls also think that they're wellness before they actually, get conditioned, strip the
Yeah,
fat off them because as females, we tend to hold most of our body fat in our lower body. So
yeah,
our legs always look bigger and more dense and muscular than they actually are until you get
yeah.
lean. And then you get lean and it's kind of like a shock to the system. And you're like, damn, I
Yeah.
actually am so much smaller than I
No,
thought.
exactly. Yeah, no, I that's like what made me think I could be wellness was because I held majority of my body fat in my legs, right? And if you're hitting legs consistently as a girl, like it just, emphasizes that. And so I was like, this is perfect until I saw myself and I was like, girl, you're not even bikini yet. And so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I can't even lie. Like my first show was a bit of a wake up call. I was like, okay, like this was a great learning experience, and I did it for a number of reasons, which we'll get
Yeah.
into in this episode. But I was like, okay, I'm a lot smaller than I think. I have a lot of work to do and a lot of growth to do, and yeah, it was a great experience, and I don't regret doing it at all. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I like to write that one off a little bit because.
Right, that one. We actually forget about that
We
fully.
we don't count that one, okay? That was
It
just
makes
a
you,
little
it
teaser
makes
for
you
us.
Yeah, it makes you realize that like there's levels to this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like even seeing like bikini now and then when I first did my first show and like I still think I looked great for my first show because like that's all we could bring, right? It was your first time. But like looking back, it's like even compared to now and then you see the pros and you see Olympia and it's like, girl, there's years, you know what I mean? Of like
Yeah,
where people need to be at. So it's always a wake up call for everybody, which again, it's a good wake up call because then you just work harder. Yeah.
exactly. It lights a fire inside of you and motivates you. Like, I
Yeah.
was like, I love this shit, like right off the bat, addicted.
Mhm.
Like, I am doing this again, like going into a solid off season and then coming back, like, and still
Exactly.
love it just as much as when I first started. But
Beautiful. Same. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask at first. But now what we're gonna start off with is talking about what we the big question, what we struggled with prior to starting bodybuilding. So whether it be like you had, like some poor relationship with food or exercise, or like you just weren't happy with where you were at, because I know like some people either start from being heavier or not being able to gain weight properly and so on. So I'll let you take it off first.
Yeah, let's just go right back to square one, guys, okay? So, um, growing up, I played a lot of sports. Like every sport under the sun you can think of, like I probably dabbled in it at some point. And so yeah, I was a very athletic child growing up. That was my thing, like some kids are dancers, some kids are like into performing arts. I was athletic. With that being said, there was never one sport that I was like seriously like, hey, this is my thing. Like I'm extremely good at it. Gonna go pro in it. Gonna go to the Olympics. Compete at a national. I did compete at a national level in rowing in high school, actually.
Hmm,
In fact,
I didn't know
yeah,
that. It's cool.
yeah. So I would say that was like one of my main sports in high school. And I did compete at the highest level in that sport versus any other sports that I did. But yeah, point being, I was super athletic. And then I went to university immediately after graduating high school. And you know what? The freshman 15 is real, guys. It is real. Um, at least it was like, I don't want to say back in my day, it wasn't that long ago, but it was like, I guess 5 years ago now, that I
Mhm.
graduated, which is crazy. So yeah, I guess almost 10 years ago actually that I went to university. But anywho, I gained a decent amount of weight as one does when they go to university. Aren't as active as you were in high school for the most part, at least for me. I was like so active in high school, like I said.
Mhm.
And you start eating shitty food, aka like cafeteria food. You're not really
Oh.
cooking for yourself. Like, at least I wasn't living in res. My meal and food options were very limited. I also got into my party era, which was very fun at the time, but you know what? Um, Alcohol does not pair well with fitness. So, yeah, I gained a bunch of weight in university and it came on pretty like slow and steadily. And COVID hit in my last year of university, and that was like a big slap in the face for me because I was actually just starting to get back into the gym in my last year of university. I was like, hey, this is really starting to affect my mental health. I don't feel comfortable in my body anymore. So I did start getting back into the gym, and then COVID hit, shut all the gyms down, and I was like, oh my gosh, basically hit rock bottom. I was doing HIIT workouts from my living room every single day, doing what I could while the gyms were closed. And fast forward to that whole thing being over and done with, the gyms reopened, I started going consistently again. And then a pretty traumatic incident actually happened in my life. And it was at that point that I was like, I am done trying to figure this out on my own. I am ready for a change. I was getting super, super self-conscious. Like I was training so hard, going to the gym, doing cardio. I was doing like 12, 3:30 every single day, like 12 incline, 3 speed for 30 minutes on the treadmill every single day. I was lifting weights, but not efficiently. I did not know how to lift weights at the time. I was just doing it. And so yeah, basically I was not making any progress. Didn't know anything about nutrition either. Like would maybe toss a Premier protein shake into my coffee and call it a
They
day.
taste good. They taste good.
No, it does taste
Yeah.
really, really good. And I was pretty good at cooking for myself. Like I would, toss some chicken into my stir fry for dinner or whatever I was having, but I wasn't like consistently tracking my protein. I wasn't eating in a calorie deficit. I was trying random things here and there. Like I did in fact try to cut out carbs. So would not recommend
Kind
doing
of
that
event.
for any reason. But
Kind of event. Yeah.
I didn't know any better at the time, so I was like, I need somebody who can tell me what to do and like guarantee results because it was getting so frustrating. I was like, I'm trying so hard right now and I'm not getting anywhere. I hate the way I look. I hate the way I feel. And I would say at that point in time, I was like pretty skinny fat. And I was like, I need some direction in my life right now. Like I said, went through a pretty traumatic experience in my life. I was off work. I was like, you know, just graduated university that year. Like, I need something to give me direction right now. So I had a few people tell me at my gym that I should try bodybuilding. I knew a couple people who were competing, and I was like, you know what? I miss that having that competitive aspect in my life. So I was like, screw it. You know, what's the worst that can happen? Let's do it.
Yeah.
That'll, help me not only get in shape, but like feel better mentally. It'll give me a goal and a challenge to work towards. I'm very goal oriented as a person, still am. And so I hired my coach in October of 2021, this was, and then did my first show in March of 2022. So it was like a pretty quick turnaround, a pretty like 0 to 100 thing,
Hmm.
real quick. Went from being skinny fat, having a little bit of muscle, to basically just being skinny on stage.
Yeah.
So that was like the long-winded version of my my fitness journey, how I got into bodybuilding. And
Yeah.
obviously, since then, I've just been like addicted to the sport, eat, sleep, breathe it. At the time, um, like if you had told me that I would be doing what I'm doing now in 5 years, like I would have told you you're crazy. But I found my passion. Like even in university, I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know like what I want to do for a career. I had no idea. I went to university for business, so I have a bachelor's degree in business management and a minor in psych, and I worked in mental health for a long time, and that was pretty draining. I had some interest in it, but I knew it wasn't my forever thing. And I got into bodybuilding. I was like, this shit's really cool. Like, I want to help people change their lives the same way my coach did for me and turn my life around. So, yeah, I have now been in the fitness space ever since, because I would say just over a year after, yeah, it was just over a year after I did my first show, I started working as a personal trainer at a gym, and the owners of that gym happen also to be coaches for online fitness coaches to help them build their online coaching business. So I was in the perfect environment with like-minded people to help support me and help me grow my coaching business, and it really just took off from there. And here we are, 3 bodybuilding seasons later.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
that
wild to look
really,
back on.
yeah, that really shows you like not everybody comes from like just like waking up one day and being like, I'm gonna actually put myself into bodybuilding and, like hope it solves whatever is like happening in my life.
Hmm.
Which is such a good thing that we will talk about next time, because we also do have people who, do that, and they are like, hey, I'm in this portion of my life where things are not looking good, and like I, don't like where I am right now, like physically, mentally, like whatever it might be, and then they throw themselves into bodybuilding. And I'm the first person to say, like, from seeing people and like watching enough things and just seeing how bodybuilding will take a toll on others, it's not something that's gonna solve your problems for you. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't like where you're at. You know what I mean?
No,
So
yeah.
yeah, it takes time and growth, because at the end of the day, bodybuilding is not there to make you love yourself more right off the bat, because it will strip you of everything, show you what your true habits are, show you what you're really capable of, how much you can handle, and if you're not there yet, it's gonna make you think, okay, my life's actually way worse than it actually is. But it's not. It just amplified what was
It
wrong
is
before.
an eye-opening experience too, like seeing yourself that lean. Like once you
Yeah.
see yourself that lean, it's very hard to go back. Like that's what
Mhm.
you're constantly comparing yourself to. So you do
Yeah.
have to be in a good mental spot initially. But for me, like it really gave me that like sense of structure and discipline
Exactly.
in my life that I had been missing from being an athlete for
Mhm.
so long. I'm also incredibly type A, come from a very type A household. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I really do thrive off the discipline and structure and routine that bodybuilding gives
gain.
me. I mean,
Yeah.
even in my off season, like I'm still living my life as I do in prep. Nothing really changes. I do have a little more flexibility here and there with like going out to eat and traveling and just being a little more flexible with the foods I choose to eat. You know, I'm not super strict with like eating the same meals like every single day, but for the most part, nothing changes because I truly love the routine. I truly love the lifestyle. And I think it's really important that if you are getting into bodybuilding, like you do love everything about the sport. You're not just chasing that
Yeah.
physique at the end of the day.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So mine wouldn't be, too far off yours. I feel like everybody has a very similar in some sense of like, the things that they did pre bodybuilding and stuff. It's like a canon event, like with the, cardio bunny or like Chloe Ting. People did the Chloe Ting back in the day in COVID. It had a chokehold on
Yes.
us, you know what I mean? So
You
it's
know,
like stuff.
shout out, yeah, Chloe Ting, Gabby Cheyenne. I
Mhm.
did her hit workouts on YouTube religiously.
Yeah.
So shout out to her. I still follow her. She was probably one of the
Yeah.
first fitness influencers I
Mhm.
followed. And I was like, you are an inspo. So anyway, yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah.
like
That was
everybody's
the time
like
though,
we
you
have
know, thinking doing like 100 crunches every day. I actually remember screenshotting these ab challenges that I found on
Mm,
Instagram, and it was
yeah.
like 30-day ab challenge, and it was like 100 crunches, like working
Yeah.
out 100 crunches a day, like 200 sit-ups, like 3-minute plank, all of this bullshit, and like I didn't know any better at the time. I truly thought that was gonna give me abs.
Girl, it was because that was what people were trying to convince us. Like, I was in my bedroom
Yeah.
locked away for an hour doing those damn crunches, and you know what? I didn't have a singular ab, okay? So I
No.
actually still have beef with Chloe Ting. Wasted a damn year, girl. A whole year of my COVID year, but it's okay. But
But
yeah,
you know, we learn.
we live and we learn, right? But yeah, before bodybuilding, I got into the gym when so I went to background. I went to an all girls private school, right? So there, not a lot of people were like into the gym. It was more of everybody was into sports because, like it's very, I want to say clicky a little bit. So like there's girls who play volleyball, there's girls who play basketball, like whatever the case might be. Rugby, but I'm not gonna talk about that because that's not my thing. But I used to play basketball, and that was just like my thing for a while because like it was with my friends and it was everything. Like it was keeping us active, which to this day I'm like thinking that I didn't like gain the amount of weight that I did because I was not eating properly. Like like when you play sports and it's like let's say a lot of endurance is involved, you're gonna feel more hungry, right? So like after those days, after games like practices and they're long, I would come home and eat like shit, right? And I was like, no, this is fueling my body, which it was in a sense because I was eating, but it wasn't fueling it how we know what fueling your body is now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
a
and
chocolate
there's a
bar.
difference between like going and working out and then like eating as an using that workout as an excuse to eat whatever
Exactly.
you want, you know, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a chocolate bar is not going to have the same value as, let's say, like pasta and like beef mince. I'll say,
It's
like you know what I
funny.
mean. Like
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you
there's
mentioned
different.
that because I would do the same thing. Like I remember vividly, I would have like a croissant or like a cookie on my way to the gym at like 5 a.m. Like when I was going to the gym before work,
Yeah.
and then after the gym, I'd hit up the A&W drive-through. I'm like, well, I just had a good solid workout, you know, like I can treat
The
myself.
A&W, I love that.
Oh,
It's
the
so
A&W
random.
hash browns, those were my
You
shit.
know what? At least it wasn't McDonald's. Maybe like A&W's like meat is real. I'll give them that. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
yeah. So there's
It
something.
totally could have been worse. But like, yeah, point
Exactly.
being that, yeah, that kind of food is not going to fuel you and
Mm,
support your goals, the
yeah.
same way whole foods and a high
Exactly.
protein diet with moderate carbs, moderate fats
Yeah,
will.
exactly. And like when you say like A&W like before like after the gym, I remember vividly like for like a week straight when we had like tournaments, me and my friend would pick up McDonald's before basketball games and like we would eat a whole McDonald's meal for the game. Like we were kids, like it was fine. Like I'm not gonna sit
Yeah.
here and be like, I wish I was eating beef and rice back then. Like honestly, I wish I did just because like I'd have you know,
I'd be so much
even though
farther
they're not
ahead.
really exactly, but like, like we were in grade what, like nine or so, like it's not that big of a deal,
Oh my
but
gosh, yeah, in high school, I was
yeah,
having like blizzards from Dairy Queen after rowing practice. Like,
and it was
oh yeah,
good.
we're not
It was
changing
good.
anything back then. And
Yeah.
we had the metabolisms of 16, 17-year-olds. So,
Exactly, yeah. Like right now, like that wouldn't fly, unfortunately. But back then was fine. But then COVID came, and that's when I started really getting into the gym, I would say, and then like the at-home like workouts. And then when we went back to school, we had a really nice gym there. So I got into like I had a friend who worked out properly, like knew what she was doing. So that kind of like gave me like something to like look at and like do in the gym. And then after high school, that's when I really started getting into the gym. Like actually it was like my last year, so grade 12, I really started getting into the gym. And then I was still like my eating habits were still poor. Like I was for sure like eating more protein and things like that. Like my knowledge for sure grew, but at the same time, we have this thing as, and I don't blame anybody because we're not taught this like breakdown in school or by anybody actually. Like people focus more on calories. You know what I mean? It is calories in, calories out at the end of the day, but you can be eating 1,500 calories, let's say. What is making up those 1,500 calories, right? So if it's like majority of your calories are coming from fats, whatever, well, you're lacking in the carbs department. So you're still going to be tired and hungry a little bit here and there, even though fats are satiating, but not as satiating as carbs, slow digesting carbs, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
then you
I
feel like, oh, I didn't even eat the 1,500 calories, so I'm actually going to eat more. So at the end of the day, you're eating like two, maybe 3,000, right? So that was still a problem for me.
macros
Um,
really make up and determine how
mhm,
you look and how you feel. I,
exactly.
I even tell my clients, I'm like, I could not care less about what your calories are. Like, don't
Mhm,
even worry about hitting your calorie goal. Like, the only thing I care about is your protein, your carbs, and your fats
exactly.
because
And
they
like,
all have different purposes and different roles
yeah,
and
yeah,
responsibilities, if you will, in the body. So, yeah,
hmm
yes,
yeah. But I wasn't aware like a woman should have like minimum like 60 grams of fats a day. So there was just like some like gap in education within nutrition specifically.
imagine if we
Uh,
did that in school. I wish. Screw
God didn't have our
Pythagorean,
backs back then.
Pythagorean, Pythagoras,
Stop.
Pythagoras.
Pythagorean girl, you just leave me alone, okay? But yeah, I wish they taught that instead of that. But yeah, so then I was just like at a point where I was like, I wouldn't say I gained so much weight, but I was carrying a lot of body fat that was making me uncomfortable. And that's the last thing like a person wants is like, even if you have a lot of body fat on you, if you're, content with what you see, that's what matters. But unfortunately at that time I wasn't. And so I was like, I want to do something about this. So as I was deepening, my fitness journey, I started, I had bodybuilding like content just pop up on my feed and stuff, and I was constantly watching it, and then I was like, okay, what do these girls do first, right? And so I looked into it, and the first thing was get a coach. You know what I mean? Get a coach, and at that time, I was still in school, like I was in my first year of uni and stuff. Like I had a job, everything was cool, and so I was like, okay, like I'll look for a coach, and then find out how much they cost, like whatever. So I went from there. For my first coach, I got honestly, like I'm gonna say it fun up. Like we'll have another episode on how to properly choose coaches, but my first coach did not know what they were doing, and like honestly, with bodybuilding coaches specifically, it's very hard to kind of check like what is their level of credibility because there's
Yeah.
not really like certifications or school that they can take to become a bodybuilding coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it truly comes down to like your own experience and like what
Mm-hmm.
mentorships you've done, like, who you've learned
Yeah,
from, and what you've
exactly.
invested your time and money into. Because yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's not like a course you
hmm
go do and then all of a sudden you're educated in like how to
hmm
prep somebody.
Yeah, like prep is like prepping clients is one of the hardest ones and like kudos to the ones who take their time and learn and like, get that education because somebody else is trusting you with their health, right? So this
Absolutely.
yeah, so this lady, I was really happy to find her. I was like, I really like want a woman for this because I felt like I just would be just more comfortable, like whatever. And then she put a person who didn't know anything about nutrition like that prior, like next to nothing. Okay, I knew about protein, girl, and that was about it. And she put me on macros. Okay, she put me on macros, and I was like, okay. So I was sitting here being like, what foods can I fit into these macros? And then because I wasn't educated enough,
Really threw
my
you in the deep end right off the bat.
exactly. And so I was like, what is this? And then like so like my food would be like different each day and stuff because like I
Yeah.
would get all my fats in, but then I'm lacking in everything else. My calories are already up, like high
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. And then you end
So
up playing macro Tetris and you're like, oh my God, I'm like so over on my fats and my carbs and I'm under on protein or like I
yeah.
don't have enough carbs, but I'm like double on my fats. Like,
So it was like, what is the point of this? I'm like, should she would be like, I loved oats, and she would be like, I don't think oats is a good source of like carbs. Girl, looking back, I'm like, you make me want to pull my hair out, you know what I mean? And she
yeah.
wasn't that cheap either. Like, I was working, yeah, but I was a university student, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
full-time student. And so I was like, okay. So then I saw a girl in my city who was a bodybuilder. Her name is Erica. And she looked great on stage, you know what I mean? And like, that wasn't the only thing I was looking for when I was looking for a coach, was how the person looked. I wanted to see how they portrayed themselves and how they felt and how their journey looked like. And hers looked like so enjoyable as a prep can be, right? And so I reached out to her coach. He was a male, and I was like, that's fine. Like, I just wanted a female first, but I'm like, no harm in trying, right? I went to him, and he was super educated, and that was my first proper coach ever. He was educated. He took me through everything, and then we did right away. He was like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just want to see how much muscle you actually have. You know what I mean? So let's go through a cut. And he didn't put me on macros, thankfully. It was a meal plan. We slowly, like, tapered down my food, like, whatever, brought it back up, whatnot. And I ended up from 160 pounds to 125 pounds. And when I tell you, he said, you have basically nothing. You know what I mean? And
That
I
is
was
very
like,
comfortable.
yeah.
Very
And I was
relatable.
like, I'm on stage 122 pounds. Like that 125, like with no muscle, just looked so different if you put them side by side, right?
Yeah.
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 So from there, we just went onto a build, and that's when I genuinely like learned the importance of macros, the importance of cardio, and when to, use it as a tool and when not to. Because before then, I was doing cardio more of per se a punishment. Like, oh my gosh, like I just ate so much food. Like I just ate pizza last night. So what social media teaches you is burn it off, right? So especially back then, it's like burn it off. So I would go on Stairmaster, but like, at the end of the day, you have to also weight train if you want to have, because everybody has this specific look where they're toned, they see muscle, but they don't actually know it's actual muscle.
Oh, don't even get me started on the tone
And
thing.
we're gonna get on that next time, don't worry, okay? But yeah, so it taught me a lot of things, and I learned a lot about myself. And even though like right now in my off season, I'm pretty heavy. Like I'm not far away from what I was when I first grabbed a coach, but I look so much different. And so it taught me like I'm not upset at the scale. I was upset at how I look and how I treat my body, right? How what I was eating and so on. And I'll have a chocolate bar if I wanted to. I'll have a muffin. I'll have a cupcake, cake, whatever I want. But like I know the importance of, do I eat a whole cake or do I eat a slice of a cake and have my meal? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
100%. And that's a huge mindset shift as well, I would say.
yeah,
And on that note, I do want to also stress the importance of how we're talking about, yes, a physical transformation here, but also a
mm.
mental
Oh yeah,
transformation. Because, yeah, there's so many mindset shifts that we went through on both of our journeys, I would say. And like when we first started, we didn't just quote unquote magically know what to do.
mm.
We went through trial and error ourselves and um, worked with a coach who educated us on all of this. Like you said, you didn't know what the heck macros were when you started. I didn't
Not a
either.
lick.
Started on a
Mm,
boring ass meal plan. Let me tell
yeah.
you, some there's some weird meals on there. Like I remember making like a smoothie with like it was a green smoothie. It was like spinach, avocado, a scoop of protein powder, peanut butter, and I can't remember. I feel like there might have been something else in there, but just
Yeah.
like yeah, like does not sound appealing. I did put
Mm,
stevia in it, which helped, so it wasn't too bad at the time. But I would
yeah.
never voluntarily
Never
make
that.
that for myself now. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, going through that whole journey like really did teach me a lot. And
Mm,
yeah, I would say mentally we went from being in that like all or nothing mindset,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
you said, you have a piece of pizza, or if you get a pizza, you feel like you have to eat the whole thing and then go and burn it off the next day. Versus now we're like, we know how we can incorporate a piece of pizza or two or three, eat until we're satiated, eat until we feel good, not overdo it, not feel like we have to finish everything that's on the plate in front of us. And then the next day, just, another day in the life as normal. Like, don't need to go burn off those calories. Like,
Exactly.
it's really not
Exactly.
the end of the world.
And like honestly, back then it obviously like made sense to us because of what we knew at that time. And like
Yeah,
I'm like looking back, like I don't have any excuse to not believe that burning it off, like going doing an hour of cardio was not correct. You know what I mean? So like for what I knew then, it made sense to do the cardio. It made
there's a
sense.
lot of influence from social media
Yeah. Oh
too.
yeah, 100%. Especially
Like,
for women, right? Especially for women
yeah,
because men have always had like train to get big. Obviously, like men also have their own things that they deal with, their own territory. That's I can't really speak on that, but for women, it's a lot of pressure for what you see online, especially because in this like still in 2026, we're still seeing the um skinny culture be pushed, right? And it's
yeah.
how do we get there? It's like, like cut out this food group, cut out this. You don't need to be having cake. And it's just like, we don't need to push that. We can just push moderation. Like, if we
100.
can do it and manage to get lean and then grow, why can't anybody else do it? You know? It's
Yeah,
not, different rules don't apply to different people.
yeah, no, exactly. It is really about finding that balance. And I will
Mhm.
say, don't use balance as an excuse to,
Yeah.
go and eat whatever the heck you want and then just call it, oh, balance.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's totally gonna stray you away from achieving your goals. But there is, in fact, a level of balance you can incorporate into your life once you understand that you can have that cookie or that donut
Hmm.
um, without also eating the entire pantry or ordering everything off McDonald's or Dairy Queen's menu or whatever it is, Like you can have something to satisfy your sweet tooth or your cravings, and then you just get back on your meal plan or your macros the next day and eat your regular meals the next day. And, as long as there's that, like, I would say about like 80-20 balance, like,
Hmm.
you will still make progress. And prep aside, that's a different story, but like, when you're not in
Exactly.
prep, like, you,
Yeah. And like at the same time, you'll see like during your process of like incorporating like balance or like intuitive eating, which will be a topic for next time because that's also a hot one. Where you can, one thing I want to say is quickly, like you cannot intuitive eat yourself into leanness. We'll
no.
just leave it there. But that's,
Yeah.
don't shoot the messenger, you
There's a
know?
reason that hasn't been working for you until now, and there's a reason that it won't.
Yeah, and it's like we talk about balance, and balance is amazing, and I will always preach balance. I don't care, like in your off season, if you're sitting there miserable, not having, the dinner with your friends because, like you don't have to go and eat Alfredo pasta every time, but if you wanted to go out and like have a carb in your meal,
That's
Jesus. But
it.
like
Yeah, going
if,
out to eat and knowing what to
yeah,
order, how to order smart.
yeah, and like it's not disordered to like, know the menu prior. For your comfort, go ahead, like it's fine, right? But saying, I need balance 24/7. If you have certain goals, let's say she wanted to step on stage, okay? we go through an off season. She needs to understand that, hey, we'll do free meals once or twice a week, but you have a meal plan to follow. And obviously, like, we will have flexibility. But if you have a certain goal, you need to understand that balance is going to be thrown out the window for a little bit. It's not forever. You know what I mean? But people want to push this narrative of like, if there's no balance, this is disordered and I'm not going to do it. We're not pushing disordered behavior because we can, if, like, you know what I mean, if you talk about it side by side, it's completely different. But for a short period of time, if you're going to put yourself in a deficit, don't automatically think because we're telling you, hey, maybe a cookie's not a best option right now, that's saying never touch a cookie.
And I think that is the blessing of macros as well,
Mm-hmm.
is learning how to incorporate things like cookies into your macros so that you can track it, you can enjoy it, and you can move on with your life rather than being constantly in this mindset of you can or can't have a certain food and then feeling so restricted all the time, having that tension build up in your brain and eventually caving and then eating everything in sight. Because
Exactly.
as soon as you start, it's incredibly hard to stop
Oh
because you
yeah.
have dopamine push in the brain. Of course, eating that cookie is going to make you feel good. Like, hell yeah, finally, I'm getting this cookie and this sugar and this dopamine rush as a
Mhm.
result. And then that's when we start to spiral. And so it's really that all or nothing, that long-term restriction, which
Yeah.
is disordered.
Exactly. And like you said, the fitting it in is better than you spiraling. You know what I mean? Because if you sat there and said, I'm not gonna eat this cookie, okay, you're not eating it, but then you're going back and forth in your kitchen eating different things that you think are healthy. Like let's take the granola sitting in your pantry, right? The
So
little
the
bag,
bag
you know?
of nuts, the trail
The
mix.
Oh yeah, like we're eating them because yes, they are healthier, but just because they're healthier does not mean that we can eat large quantities of those things. You know what I mean? I would rather you go eat that cookie than go eat three palmfuls of nuts. Because
Agree.
then you're still gonna go back after and have that cookie. So why not from the start just have the cookie?
Yeah, yeah,
It's better, you know? And that way,
exactly.
like, you're not setting a poor relationship right off the bat. And you could always, like, if you have a coach, talk to your coach because your coach, at the end of the day, like, understand that you're paying your coach for their knowledge. They're not gonna sit there telling you, oh no, like this and this, and you're wrong and your mindset's poor. They're there to
And if they
coach you.
are, then that's
Oh,
a red
leave them.
flag. Get
Oh,
out.
leave them. And that's gonna be, again, another episode on how to leave poor coaches, okay? But yeah, like, I think a lot of people like need to do their internal work when it comes to like balance and I don't want to say when to restrict unless you're in prep, like, you know what I mean, so I'm not going to use that word
Rather
for.
than like eating less, because
Yeah.
that was the mindset I was in when I first
Mhm.
started with like I need to eat less in order to achieve this physique goal that I have,
Yeah,
and in order to feel comfortable and confident in my body again. But rather than eating less, it's actually, okay, how am I going to fuel my body more strategically? How am I
exactly.
going to fuel myself to progress towards my goals?
Hmm.
It doesn't come down
Exactly.
to eating less. I mean, yes, it does in a sense, but that mindset of always having to eat less is what then spirals you into that
It's
restrictive
always that.
mindset.
It's always
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think of tracking your food as like tracking your finances or your expenses, you know? Um, you track what you have in your bank account, you track what goes in, what comes in, and what goes out.
Hmm.
Same thing when it comes to macros. You're tracking what goes into your body and comparing that to the allotment of calories and macros that you have in your account, basically.
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so it really
Yeah.
is a powerful, powerful tool. So,
Yeah. And this will like bring us to the topic because we talked a lot about like how social media or like people when we first started had like, obviously we listened to the people around us and what we watched because we consume daily. What have you heard within the fitness industry or space, same thing, that you think is genuinely toxic? Like, whether it be information about macros, food, cutting, growing, whatever it may be, that's misleading people.
Truly the premise of doing more and eating less to achieve said quote unquote tone physique.
Yeah.
Because honestly, eating more, or sorry, not eating more, moving more and doing crazy amounts of cardio, which is often what social media pushes and preaches, is doing a lot of cardio and not eating enough. Doing too much cardio, that's driving cortisol up. Not eating enough, not fueling yourself is driving cortisol up, which is the body stress hormone. And at that point, you're really driving yourself into a state of fight or flight. And at that point, your body's just in so much stress and panic that it stalls all fat loss. It's like, whoa, hold up. Like, we need to slow down for a sec here. And that's often when people find themselves like feeling quote unquote stuck or like at a plateau, probably because you're doing too much cardio, you're overexpending energy, and you're not fueling yourself properly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that um, concept on social media is incredibly toxic because as a, you know, doesn't matter whether you're 20 in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, regardless of your age, we should not be eating like toddlers.
Hmm.
We should not be eating less than a toddler does.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
and doing hours of cardio every single week is not sustainable either. So that's a huge thing. Like if whatever you're doing to try to accomplish your fitness and physique goals is not something that you see yourself doing for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it's probably not a sustainable approach. It's probably not something that is going to work for you long term. So that's when I would reconsider, okay, like, is there something I could be doing differently on my fitness journey? And yeah, it's probably going to come down to eating more and eating to fuel your body with the right amount of protein, carbs, and fats, and strength training in the gym as well. Like, that brings me to another thing. There's a huge stigma that lifting weights is going to make women in particular super bulky.
Oh, that was mine. Yeah.
Sorry to
Yeah.
steal your thunder, but yeah, that is
It's
a
a big.
huge one, and that's something I suffered with as well
Yeah.
when I first started. I will say, I refused to train my shoulders. I skipped shoulder day. I was like, I'm already like so wide, like I don't want like big bulky shoulders, you know?
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, I wish I could tell that girl back then that training her shoulders will not make her bulky.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of funny, like to think about how hard we train as bodybuilders and we still do not have enough muscle and we still
Exactly.
like do not look bulky, like
Like you don't
especially as bikini athletes. So
yeah, like you
yeah,
don't stumble into, 10 pounds of mass. If it were
I
that
wish it
easy,
was that easy, let me tell you.
like I would do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't,
Yeah,
squat one
you
time
don't
and
just
wake
wake
up and
up
do it.
with 10, 20 pounds of muscle on you.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I think that was mine. Like, the stigma around, lifting makes you bulky. And I'm very passionate about this one because it stresses me. Like, I feel like I'm fighting with my life every single time I see these because it's always it's always women, first of all, who are like pushing this, which makes me so sad because like their pages look like majority of their audience is women, right? Because I don't know, I guess like men can follow them too, but like majority of their content kind of um what's the word, caters to women, right? So if you're this lean woman who does the activities that she wants to, usually the person is fairly active. You know what I mean? Like they're not just sitting on the couch all day, but you can tell from some of their videos that like you are eating in a deficit. You know what I mean? Like whether you want to admit it or not to your audience, you're eating in a deficit because your what are eat in a days are very low volume or high volume and still low calorie, right? So people don't really
Those
clock that
videos
just
can be
because.
extremely toxic too. I will
Exactly. Like just because you're eating, your eggs with cottage cheese and veggies and this and that, we can still see that there's no carbs in that. You know what I mean? And
And like
so,
your 2 meals and one snack a day
mhm,
is not enough to properly give.
exactly,
So,
exactly. So it's like
and I think
they
that's, sorry, I was just gonna say that's where
noise.
a lot of people get misled is like
Mm,
they watch these full day of eating videos or what I eat in a day videos, and then, you know, if you don't know any better, then you're just gonna assume that in order to look like the person, the girl in that video, then you also need to only eat 2 meals a day and one tiny snack, which
exactly.
a lot of the time those videos also claim that they're like, oh, 22, 2400 calories and like 150 grams of protein. And then I look at the meals and I'm like, the math is not mathing.
Exactly. Like something's not like we're not, you know what I mean? But like they're catering to women who genuinely like want to change their
Yeah.
lifestyle or just like have more knowledge or they were like us when we first started and if you're consuming this media then it's like what's going to happen? Like you know what I mean? And so always their thing is you don't need to be in the gym 5 6 times a week like like you don't have the same 24 hours as the next person and that's fair okay but you don't need to be fear mongering around resistance training because and then they'll say that's why do a light walk, go to hot yoga, go to Pilates. Yes, do so. But at the end of the day, if you are not resistance training, you're either going to end up skinny fat or you're going to end up in the future regretting the fact that you didn't train because your bone density is affected. You know what I mean? Like so many things. And there's a lot of, diseases that could catch up to you faster than other people because of your health and fitness background. So, and what people refuse to listen to is the bulky look that people refer to is a person having an excess amount of body fat or just regular amount of body fat, and then they'll see them train and they'll say, actually, that's why they're bulky because they're lifting a weight. No, the person just happens to have body fat. You know what I mean? And so if they shredded that off and they went into a cut, they would look like how you were, envisioning to look in a year or two. You know what I mean? So
And if
I
you want
that's
to achieve that lean, toned look,
Mhm.
you gotta put on muscle because
Yeah,
otherwise you're gonna lose body fat. You're not gonna look toned. You're just gonna look skinny. Or
exactly.
you're
And
gonna
then
stay in this like skinny fat cycle where you feel bulky because,
yeah.
like you just said,
Mhm.
at that point you just have too much body fat on you.
Yeah, and like you're
Like,
just eating things that just are inflaming you. Like I say this because I've experienced it and I know it and I know what that bulky look is. And even like right now, like people can look at me and say, I don't want to look like her because she looks bulky because I have body fat on me, right? And
yeah,
so I even went ahead and I took it upon myself to unfollow this girl I followed on TikTok for like years because she was into fitness and whatever, and she also was like practicing to become a Pilates instructor, which is fine. Loved her content, and then it went from when she started doing Pilates full time, she switched her content to I stopped lifting because it was just raising my cortisol. It was making me bulky. It was doing this, was doing that. But then her side by side pictures is like, you were 30 pounds heavier here. That's why you looked quote unquote bulky. And so that's just what her whole page was. And so I'm like, I can't watch this. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I was like, it
That's
does
why
not
I
resonate.
felt bulky back in the day too. That's why I didn't want to train my shoulders
Yeah.
because at that point in time I just didn't have enough muscle on me to
Mm.
create that lean, I hate the word tone, but tone physique, and I was fat.
Mm.
Like, bottom line, that's what it
Yeah.
comes down to. So, yeah,
It's just yeah, but with this said, like in
yeah,
like when I first started, I think like the key things I wish I knew, um, will obviously be like the only macro that matters is not just protein. You know what I mean? There's your fats, your carbs, your proteins, and yeah, fibers. But
micronutrients too. Like,
exactly, like there's all of those. Like you know what I mean?
you are
And
what
then
you eat
also,
truly, visually,
oh,
physically,
100%.
mentally.
And sometimes I do want to become a cookie, but like that's sometimes balance. There's my balance there, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like protein's not the only macro. I wish like, I knew that you don't have to burn everything off, because also when you do that continuous amount of cardio, it's not just harming you like physically, you're gonna create that mindset that we talked about. And also you're just, again, that's where that, like, your adrenal glands are gonna get fried. Like, it's just continuous go, go, go. And it's like this back and forth. You're eating too much, then cardio, you're eating too much cardio. Your body does not have a state of peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, cardio, like not over exercising, not,
Not being afraid to lift heavy
oh,
in the
heavy as hell. Do not let anybody tell you to lessen the weight. Obviously, don't ego lift and like hurt yourself,
Yeah,
but
form first always, and execution is
yeah,
really important. But
yeah.
lift heavy, like those 5 pounders, get them out of here, swap them.
No,
Yeah,
no. Like a strong woman does not come from, restricting and becoming her small self. It's from, like, a strong woman is somebody who, doesn't fear, getting in the gym and, lifting, taking care of her health, eating properly. A strong woman is somebody that, creates an environment for her that benefits her mental health, and what she sees in the mirror is, positive. You know what I mean? So the gym truly does create strong women. You just need to kind of have a discernment of what you consume from social media.
yeah. And something else that I wish I could go back and tell myself as well is not being afraid to ask for help. Like, you don't need to figure it all out on your own. And I wish I had asked for help so much sooner, because I would have made so much more progress that much sooner, rather than just spinning my wheels over and over again for so long. And yeah, driving my adrenals into the ground, like doing way too much cardio, going and overeating, trying XYZ fad diet. You name it, I probably tried it. I remember thinking I couldn't eat an apple because of the carbs, okay? Laughable now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. We have five now. We have five apples now.
just ate an apple right before recording this,
Yeah.
actually. But
Hmm.
yeah, we love carbs. We do love carbs. But yeah, like, get the support that you need. Like, reach out to people you look up to on social media. Even just like, if you don't have the means to hire a coach, just like reach out for support. I'm always happy to chat to whoever on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hiring a coach, will say, changed my life and completely
100%.
changed my trajectory for sure. That was a
Okay.
total game changer for me, taking the
Yeah.
guesswork out of it, and also learning so, so much. When people ask me, how do you know everything that you know now? Honestly, going through it myself and
Exactly.
working with a coach for the past 4.5 years. And yeah, losing 40 pounds, gaining 40 pounds, losing 40 pounds.
Yeah.
You learn something new every single time you do it. Every single day I learn something new, honestly. So,
Exactly. And
yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah,
With
yeah.
that being said, obviously we dove like very deeply into this episode. It was really good. I honestly loved hearing your perspective and everything like that. And there's this thing where people always ask, like, it's a very common question to people who either like go to the gym a lot or bodybuild or powerlift or whatever the case might be, or play sports even. Doesn't just get asked to bodybuilders, how are you so motivated to go? How are you, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you know that you have school all day or work, how are you motivated enough to go to the gym right at like 6 a.m. because you know that you have a full day, right? And like, the one thing I have to say to that is, the most like obviously there's days where you have no motivation. Like, after a while, I'm gonna be honest with you, there's not, like, I love the gym, but sometimes I have to drag my ass out of bed to go to the gym.
Oh,
Like,
100%. Like, I know a lot
mhm.
of people look at us bodybuilders and just assume that we're motivated day in, day out, 110% of the time. But in reality, motivation is probably only there half the time. Like, we go to the gym and we check all of our non-negotiable boxes every single day
Mhm.
because we have the drive and desire to achieve our goals, and we are committed to those goals. We know what we need to do in order to execute those goals, and not only that, but going to the gym makes us feel like our best selves.
Yeah.
Eating on plan, eating our normal whole food based meals, or whatever your meal plan or nutrition plan looks like staying consistent with that makes us feel good
Exactly.
physically, mentally. We know that those meals are going to digest well for us. So steering away from our protocols and our programs just does we know isn't going to do us any good other than make us feel like trash. And
Exactly. And just, yeah, like
yeah,
you said, motivation's there half the time, if not less. And it's just, the habits that we created from structure. And that's what, like, structure is what gets us through day by day. Like, I'm not going to be like, for the next week, I'm going to be motivated to go. Like, hitting legs, like, especially bikini training, I want to say is the most bland, insane thing that you'll go through, like 3 times a week, upper twice, like sometimes none if girls, like, like, don't need to grow their upper more, but it's boring, you know what I mean? So
it's
going in there
repetitive.
day in and day out and doing the same thing takes just structure, you know what I mean? And one thing I want to say is what helps me with that, and like what I think I want other people to know, like as a whole, with just whether it be you in the gym, you with, nutrition, whatever, like mindset, even, your best self is never your smallest self. It never, never is, because you are going to be tired. You are going to be overthinking, days of overeating, overtraining. There's going to be so much chaos in your mind that it's going to start pouring into everything else in your life, that the sooner you stop thinking my smallest self is my best self, the more quiet your mind will be.
Yeah. Rather
Yeah.
than focusing on how you look physically and what the number on the scale says, how do you feel? How are you functioning? How's your productivity? How are you showing up for yourself, for your relationships, for work, whatever it is in your life, or all pillars in your life? How are you showing up? And how do you feel? And how are you sleeping? That's what
Exactly.
matters the most, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, you want to feel confident in your body, but like we mentioned in the last episode, often our most confident selves are not our smallest selves. So,
Hell no. No. But yeah. Well, do you have anything else to add?
honestly, just re-emphasize the fact that most women don't need to eat less. They just need to eat smarter. They need to stop trying random programs, stick to a program, be consistent with it, find something that is built for you. And yeah, it really comes down to strategy. And we're not
Yeah, and reach
motivated.
out.
If you're not, if you feel like motivation is your issue, I can promise you it's not, because
Because we don't got it sometimes. We do not got it. So,
hell no, hell no.
yeah.
But
No.
yeah, this was a really, really good episode. I like this one.
I liked it. It was this one was special, honestly,
It
because we've
was,
never like
yeah, so
deep
many
deep into
topics we can talk all day about as well.
it.
So if there's anything we mentioned specifically that you have questions that you'd like us to dive into more, then drop in the comments, shoot us a DM, and we can definitely expand on whatever topic you'd like to hear more
Exactly.
about in coming episodes. So
Yeah.
thank
Perfect.
you so much for tuning in again to the Consistency Code podcast. Loved having you here, and chat to you next week.
Bye.